Given her obvious ability and authority to literally destroy Richie's relationship with the cartel with a 10-second phone conversation, Kat is probably certain to become a big factor in the near future. Anyone who is subservient to the cartels should not be taken lightly, and judging by the opulence of her private jet, she may be a multimillionaire or maybe a very high-ranking government official. She specifically mentions that Harry owes her a favor now, which, given the circumstances, doesn't seem like it will benefit him. They are transferred from Antwerp to Amsterdam as Harry works against the clock to find Brendan and Seraphina, and they end up shackled in a warehouse owned by the Mexican cartel, another organization that works in the London drug trade alongside the Harrigans and Stevensons. Regretfully, they captured the renegade Harrigans on behalf of Richie Stevenson, and a video camera was set up so that the Harrigans in the Cotswolds could witness their execution. Brendan is brutally murdered before a mysterious phone call to the cartel's leader spares Seraphina, leaving Richie perplexed. Following Harry as he tries to find Brendan and Seraphina takes up a significant amount of the episode, which naturally intensifies the action. In the sight of their kidnapping, Harry recognizes a Moroccan gang as the abductors and goes to confront them in the Antwerp docks, where he is aware the group works. One flees, and Harry rides a motorcycle after him to find out his boss's name and address. As Harry usually does, he leaves a trail of dead behind him as he goes on a one-man rampage through a Moroccan warehouse drug operation out of the ports. Because the gang boss, who, ironically, Harry threw a grenade at him, lives, Harry has the chance to question him about where Brendan and Seraphina are. He leaves right away, but as was already indicated, he doesn't reach them in time. Jamie Lopez, the head of the unidentified Mexican cartel involved in the drug trafficking in London and around Europe, ends up capturing Brendan and Seraphina. Richie outsourced the murder of the two Harrigans to Lopez because he knew he wouldn't be able to get them in time all the way to Antwerp. Because of their close proximity, Lopez then outsourced the kidnapping to the Moroccans. Because of an offense Conrad committed against his father 30 years prior, Lopez is more than happy to cooperate. It isn't enough to simply put a bullet in their heads and dump their bodies, so Lopez repeats the unthinkable slur to Brendan and Seraphina to explain his involvement in their kidnapping and murder. Setting up a live stream of the two in their chairs, Lopez has one of his associates fire up a chainsaw, symbolizing both his long-standing hatred for the Harrigans and Richie's now mad desire for vengeance after the murders of his wife and son. Brendan is butchered, but Kat calls Lopez and stops him before Seraphine is killed. Now that it's clear, Maeve has always been the rat in the Harrigan criminal organization, and the noose is starting to tighten around her. In episode 7, she nearly gets caught by Conrad when she says Richie texted her to say he had Seraphina and Brendan, but she actually told him where he could find them both. Before Kevin interrupts them, she plays coy and complains that Conrad doesn't trust her when he wants her to show him the text. Jan is in a lot of danger because Maeve is now looking for a way out. Maeve had encouraged Conrad to assume that Jan was the rat leaking information from the Harrigans. In episode 7, he has Paul follow her to a pub where she is seeing Alice, a DS Fisk informant, and he has even threatened her about it in her own house. Paul is concerned that Alice is actually an informant since he hears Jan discussing killers and gangsters, and assumes she is discussing the Harrigans' business with someone she hardly knows. Since Maeve had been aware of Conrad's actions from the beginning, reiterating that Paul is her toady, not Conrad's, she is aware that suspicions are already high regarding Jan. Since she is now trying to discredit herself as the rat, it is almost a given that Jan will be the target of Maeve's accusations, and unless Harry steps in or more evidence against Maeve surfaces, Jan's fate appears set in stone. If something does happen to Jan, it may serve as the catalyst for Harry to change sides and join Richie in their fight against the Harrigans. In all his scumbag glory, Eddie tries to lure the 16-year-old Gina de Souza, who now lives with him in the manor, to go for a walk with him while he vents about how untrustworthy his father is and how lonely he feels as a result. He doesn't know Gina is a psychology student, so she quickly sees through his ploy and calls it the mirroring technique, but in a reference to Alice and Jan's chat at the pub earlier in MobLand episode 7, she hooks up with the bad boy, Eddie, against her better judgment.